Om Ajnanatimirandasya Jnananjanashalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Presthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swaminiti Namine. Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudirayet. In this session, we'll be discussing from the 28th verse of the 10th chapter of the first canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. Nunam Vratasnana Hutadineshwaraha Samarchito Hyasya Grihita Panibihi Pibantiya Sakhi Adharamritam Muhur Prajastriya Sammumuhur Yad Ashayaha. The meaning of this verse is, O friends, just think of his wives whose hands he has accepted. How they must have undergone vows, baths, fire sacrifices, and perfect worship of the Lord of the universe to constantly relish now the nectar from his lips by kissing. The damsels of Rajabhumi would often faint just by expecting such favors. So, among the inhabitants of Dwaraka, particularly the ladies of Hastinapura are glorifying the wives of Krishna and the gopis of Vrindavan. They are very intimately associated with Krishna. They are the intimate devotees of Krishna. And they are being described here that they did not get that position simply by desiring to have that position. No. They must have undergone vows, baths, fire sacrifices, and perfect worship of Krishna, who is the Lord of the universe. Lot of tapasya they have done to get that position. That's what is being described here. Now Srila Prabhupada explains in the purport. Religious rites prescribed in the scriptures are meant to purify the mundane qualities of the conditioned souls. Mundane qualities means material qualities. And these material qualities are to be purified. Because we are spirit soul, we are spiritual by nature, we have spiritual qualities which are covered by material body, by material mind, covered with material qualities. So the religious rituals described in the scriptures are meant to purify these mundane qualities, these material qualities. And what will happen if we get purified? We are gradually promoted to the stage of rendering transcendental service to the Supreme Lord Krishna. So this purification is necessary for elevating us gradually to the stage of being able to serve Krishna, to be able to render devotional service to Krishna. So devotional service is not an ordinary activity, and not everybody can take to devotional service simply by desiring or deciding to do so. No. There's a lot of difference between bhakti and karma. Bhakti is completely spiritual. Karma is material. Karma may be performed by any human being. But bhakti is only for those who are purified, by the right process described in the scriptures, the religious rituals for purification. And only then one can actually begin devotional service to Krishna. Further, Srila Prabhupada says, attainment of this stage of pure spiritual life is the highest perfection. And this stage is called Swarupa. This was mentioned in the previous verse also by Prabhupada. Swarupa. The factual, what is Swarupa? The factual identity of the living being. Each one of us, we have got a spiritual identity. The spiritual identity is called Swarupa. It's our original position in our relationship with Krishna, in the spiritual world, in his association. It is a perfection, highest perfection to be attained. Liberation means renovation of this stage of Swarupa. This is what the Bhagavatam describes. Sometimes people think liberation means going to the heavenly planets. Sometimes they think liberation means merging into some void. Sometimes they think liberation means getting some mystic powers. But that is not liberation. Even though they may be desired by somebody who's suffering in this material world, as freedom from suffering through these methods is possible to some extent. But ultimately, real liberation is not just freedom from suffering. Of course, those who are really liberated are free from all suffering, but beyond that, they are established in their Swarupa, in their relationship, loving relationship with Krishna. In that perfect stage of Swarupa, the living being is established in 5 phases of loving service. 5 phases of loving service. This is described in detail in the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, which describes what is bhakti, what is the kind of relationship in bhakti, what are the different kinds of relationships. 5 kinds of relationships, depending on the 5 kinds of service that one renders to Krishna. Shanta Dasya Sakhya Vatsalya Madhurya. Of these 5, the stage of Madhurya Rasa, or the humor of conjugal love, is one of the 5, and it is the topmost. The Lord is always perfect in himself, and thus he has no hankering for himself. It's not that Krishna wants some enjoyment in association of the gopis or the queens, the most beautiful personalities, because he is lacking in any way. No, Krishna is never lacking. Krishna is always full in himself. Purna. He is completely full in himself. And he is independent. Because he is full, he is independent. So he is not hankering as we, the souls of this material world, are always incomplete, imperfect. Therefore, we have a hankering. We want. So we are lacking, therefore we want. Krishna is never lacking. Never. Eternally he is full. Perfect. Completely full. Krishna, however, in spite of being full in himself, he becomes a master, a friend, a son, or a husband to fulfill the intense love of the devotee concerned. It is the devotee's loving service to Krishna that Krishna agrees to become the master of the loving servant, the husband of the loving wife, the son of the loving mother or loving father, the friend of another loving friend. So Krishna agrees out of his causeless mercy, out of his kindness. So, in this particular description of this verse, two classes of devotees of the Lord are mentioned in the stage of conjugal love: the queens and the gopis in Vrindavan, the queens in Dwaraka and gopis in Vrindavan. Two classes of devotees who are situated in Madhurya Rasa relationship. One is called Swakiya and the other is called Parakiya. This is very important to understand. Both of them are in conjugal love with Krishna, but there is a difference. The queens at Dwaraka were Swakiya relationship, or duly married wives. That means there is a relationship because of being married. Krishna married 16,108 princesses, and they became, after marriage, his queens in Dwaraka. Whereas the damsels of Vraja, the gopis, young gopis, the young friends of Lord, were his friends in Vrindavan when he was unmarried, when he was a boy. The Lord stayed at Vrindavan till the age of 16, and his friendly relations with the neighboring girls were in terms of Parakiya. Parakiya means it is not a relationship of conjugal love. Conjugal love means love between opposite genders, male and female. So this relationship is not due to marriage. Now these girls in Vrindavan, the gopis, young gopis, as well as the queens, underwent severe penances by taking vows, bathing and offering sacrifices in the fire as prescribed in the scriptures. How did they reach that position of becoming the beloved of Krishna as the queen or as the gopis? It is by undergoing severe penances. That is being described in this verse. Now the rites as they are not an end in themselves. What is described in this Shastra as tapasya or some rata or some yajna, some dana, all those things are not end in themselves, but they are means to attain the highest stage of Swarupa, including the descriptions of different pious activities, different types of cultivation of knowledge, transcendental knowledge, or even perfection in mystic powers, getting siddhis. So, jnana, karma and siddhi, all these are not end in themselves. The ultimate perfection of these attainments is to reach the highest stage of Swarupa, to render constitutional transcendental loving service to the Lord. That is the goal. So we should understand carefully that the kissing of the Lord, either by his wives or the gopis, is not a material act or a material quality. No. If it is material, then Shukadeva Goswami would never have even cared to mention it in the 10th canto of the Bhagavatam. Because Shukadeva Goswami is a very, very strict brahmachari, and he is completely free from all material desires. So he has no interest in any material activities. He is only interested in spiritual activities. Therefore, Shukadeva Goswami elaborately described Krishna's pastimes. And even Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, participated in this subject matter even though he was a very strict sannyasi. So, therefore, we should understand this stage is attained only after severe penances of many, many, many lifetimes. And it is a transcendental position. It's not a material position. I'll stop here. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna.